Just bring it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another session of A Day with your fertility specialist. I'm Joanna Damina, your host for today. Thank you very much for clicking. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing with all your friends and your family that you think are interested in the things that we talk about. Really sorry for the slightly delayed start. And thank you for sticking around with us. And like I say all the time, if you think someone would be interested in learning about this topic, then please share this with them. If you've been thinking about it, you've heard of it, or you've just seen it somewhere and you're wondering what exactly is this thing, well, stick around till the end to know a lot more about it. Today, we're talking about PGD. We're explaining more about PGD and how it protects the next generation, or its strengths in doing that, because it may not be almighty. But with us today is Dr. Ken to explain a lot more about PGD. Welcome, sir. It's good to have you on here. If you're joining us for the first time, Dr. Ken is a consultant gynecologist, an IVF specialist, and a minimal access surgeon. So yes, I have someone here with a lot of qualifications to talk about things like that, especially with the fertility specialist area. So yes, Dr. Ken, like I said, it's something that you're going to explain to us a lot more. I mean, let's just make it simple, or let's start on a simpler note, because I know we're going to get a lot more detailed a little later. But for someone who has no idea what PGD is,
Mhm.
I mean, what even does it mean? First of all, what is the full meaning of it, and what exactly is the whole process around it?
Yeah. Thanks, Joanna.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's good to be on set with you.
Okay.
Yeah, PGD is just an acronym that means pre-implantation genetic diagnosis.
Okay.
Yeah, pre-implantation
Mm-hmm.
genetic diagnosis. So it means the word pre-implantation means before implantation.
Mm-hmm.
There's some form of genetic diagnosis made on the embryos.
Yeah.
So you can understand what they stand for, what they represent,
Okay.
and whether they are healthy or
Mm-hmm.
whether they are the right quality of babies. One wants to determine before you transfer them into the uterine cavity. So PGD is pre-implantation genetic diagnosis. You could come across some acronyms like PGDS,
Mm.
PGDT,
Okay.
so pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and testing,
Hmm.
pre-implantation genetic screening, and all of that. They just kind of mean the
The
same thing.
same thing. Okay.
Yeah, so it is an advanced form of assisted reproduction technology.
Hmm.
In fact, the most advanced form of assisted reproduction
Wow.
technology, where the constituents, the make of an embryo
Mm-hmm.
is determined. The make constitute is constituted of the gene makeup. Yeah, the abnormalities of the embryos are all determined before its selection is made of
Okay.
which embryo is needed
Mm-hmm.
to be transferred into a woman.
Wow,
You
that's quite detailed. I
yeah, it's a
mean,
high class
yeah.
fertility care.
Sounds like it.
But by the way, when PGD started becoming very prominent,
Hmm.
you know, I think then I was still a student in
Oh
reproductive
wow,
medicine,
that's long.
University of Warwick.
Okay.
And I could remember a lecturer, one of my lecturers then, Professor Emeritus
Hmm.
Degan Wales, came to deliver a lecture on pre-implantation genetic diagnosis and IVF.
Hmm.
And then it was like the future we're
I
all looking
mean,
for. And
yeah.
the lecture went on, and we barely could sit to hear how
He was just
excited
edging.
the lecture was. A good number of us stood listening to the lecture. It
Hmm.
was quite exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. So it is the future, and right now we are living in that future.
Oh, that's really amazing. I mean, I think I might be in my student era right now, but then there's a lot more that is known about it, because I'm sure that was quite a long time
Oh
ago. I
yeah.
mean, you're
We're talking about 2013.
wow,
Yeah.
that's over
2013.
a
Yeah.
decade ago, but
Mhm.
that's really interesting. Well, so for PGD now, you're saying you're going to figure out the constituents of an embryo.
Yeah.
What's the step like? What are the processes to doing, something like that?
Okay, so how that is done is this. First of all, a woman goes through the regular process of IVF.
Okay.
You know, she undergoes ovarian stimulation, control ovarian stimulation, and the embryos are gotten. I mean, the oocytes
Okay,
are
outside. Yeah.
gotten, fertilized, and then by the fifth or sixth day, when they have reached the blastocyst stage, the outer cell mass, a part of the outer cell mass is taken from the embryos. Yeah, some the word to use is biopsy, but then part of the is some cells from the embryos are taken, and those cells are representative of the entire
Oh,
constituents
huh.
of the embryo.
Wow. So just from
Exactly, from
a
some tiny
very
cells, you
tiny
could tell what this embryo
sample.
really represents. You could tell the gene of the embryo, the disease condition of the embryos, the health of the embryos, the gender of the embryos, and all of that. You know, so yeah, so you take I mean some cells from from each embryos and analyze them.
Wow.
And the analysis is done with polymerase chain reaction, or next generation sequencing. This is the most advanced form
It
of
sounds like something out of a
gene.
sci-fi
Oh yeah,
movie.
advanced form of gene analysis. And to tell what is really going on with the embryos,
Okay.
whether they are the embryos that are desired, wanted by the couple or parents. And at this stage, the embryos from which the biopsies are taken are usually frozen.
Okay.
So you see, we have ovarian stimulation,
Yeah.
you have the fertilization and culture of the embryos, then you have the the biopsy or taking of cells from the embryos
Yeah.
by the 5 or the 6 when they have reached the stage we call the blastocyst. Usually that's the stage before the transfer. If analysis, gene analysis is not going to be done, so you have that. Then you have freezing of the embryos until the genetic analysis is determined.
Wow.
Then the embryos are now thawed, unfrozen
And then
or defrost or whatever you want
whoever
to
wants to use
use.
it, they'll try to remove it from where it's freezing.
Yes, and then you now transfer into the woman after she's been prepared for all of that.
Okay, so you said every embryo is tested.
Exactly,
So
every
when all
embryo.
of them are now frozen, and then when they're now thawed out or defrosted, that's when you can now, let's see, select out of all those embryos.
When you take the sample from each embryos, it is coded for each embryos. So when the results of the analysis is out, you know which embryos
Oh, wow.
is okay, which is not okay, which has a disease condition, which has a genetic trait that is going to be transmitted or not. And so you make your selection based on what the couples needed.
Yes,
If they
that's
need to
interesting.
avoid some certain genetic diseases, of course you will see an embryos with the genetic disease and then you avoid that embryos.
Okay.
Of course, if it's the genotype you also are looking at, you look for the embryos with the bad genotype, for instance, and you avoid that embryos.
Okay.
And of course it also shows you the degree of aneuploidy when embryos are just bad, even if they don't have disease condition, but
Oh,
they are
wow.
not healthy enough to become babies or
Yeah.
pregnancies. It shows all of that. So with that, you are better equipped to make adequate selection, of the right embryos for the purpose of pregnancy.
Okay. So,
You
well,
know,
how accurate would you say PGD is? I mean,
it's super accurate. It's like 99.999%
999.
accurate.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not to say that errors cannot
Yeah, of
occur,
course.
but then it's super accurate. There's no better way to determine what you want in an embryo than PGD.
So, I mean, you also spoke about genotype, and I know in somewhere like Nigeria, there is a hub of a genotype disease, like sickle cell disease. How can PGD actually help genotype? Should I say the sickle cell carrier parents, or if they're completely, sickle cell, or AS, things like that? How can PGD actually help them with that if we're able to check genotype before even implantation?
Oh yeah, actually, this is one of the reasons why we say an AS an AS couple, guys and ladies could get married,
Yeah.
because this is one of the ways they could have healthy babies. So just as I mentioned earlier, they can attempt to have to get pregnant by IVF,
Okay.
and then you have the PGD done in the IVF. And of
Yes.
course, because PGD analyze uh, the genes, the DNA of the babies, of the embryos, so you could see the genotype, because everything about humans and about the embryos is
Yeah,
represented in the
DNA.
DNA.
Yeah.
You understand? So you see the genotype of every embryos. So you see an embryo that is going to be SS, for instance, that is SS. You're going to see an embryo that is AS. You see the one that is AA and all of that. So, and of course, in addition to that, you see the embryos that are healthy,
Yeah.
in addition to the healthy genotype. You could see an embryo that is AA but has a lot of aneuploidy, So you avoid that, because though it's AA, but it has no capacity to
Otherwise,
become
yeah.
pregnancy.
Yeah.
So it tells you all of this. So with that, you could help these couples select healthy genotype, healthy embryos for embryo transfer. So that way, when pregnancy occurs, it's very unlikely
Yeah.
to be an abnormal genotype. This is also one of the ways you can eliminate abnormal genotype from the population.
I can
Yeah.
imagine.
So yeah, you do that. And incidentally, this is one of the reasons why PGDs are done in Nigeria or Africa, because
Okay.
Nigeria, for instance, is the world epicenter for sickle cell.
Yeah.
The second reason why PGD is done around this area of the world is gender selection. Yeah, the
True,
world
I've heard
wouldn't like to
that.
hear this,
Yeah.
but it happens anyways. Yeah, it
No,
happens. Guys
a
doing
little.
PGD because they want females, and we've seen people doing PGD because they want males.
Yeah.
So whatever they want.
I mean, I've come across this topic, and I see people saying, "Oh, doing PGD, you're playing God, especially if you're trying to eliminate this or you're trying to choose this or that." I mean, I feel like if you're doing, well, I don't know about the gender parts, but I know definitely try to eliminate those genetic diseases and those genotype problems. It feels more like you're giving your babies or your embryos or however it is, but they're going to turn out to be babies, hopefully,
Oh,
a
sure.
healthier start to life, and eventually a healthier family dynamic, because at the end of it, you don't want to spend your child's whole life in the hospital, things like that, if you can
Yeah,
eliminate something.
that's one of the problems people have with IVF generally. You know, they claim that reproductive biologists or specialists in assisted reproduction technology are playing God. I now always ask, what do they even know about the God? Who created the abnormal genotype in the first place? It wasn't created by God. It was an accident of nature. It's a genetic accident, you know, and then it happened in the realms of men, and men have learned how to take care
Take
of
care of it,
it.
yeah.
So if you say you're playing God, then leave it, get an SS. Then the baby will now ask, how come I'm this way?
Yeah.
And then you say God made him that way, and that's an aspersion on God's personality,
No, no,
if you
of
ask
course
me.
not. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not about playing God. I think it's just an uneducated mindset, or an unexposed mindset that always think that way, because this is science helping humans or mankind to have a better start to life. And
Exactly.
there's nothing more important than giving your kids or children a good gene lottery to start life with. Yes,
Yeah.
so genotype is just one of them. And there are a lot of other areas that kids' lives can be improved upon using the genetic, pre-implantation genetic
That's
diagnosis.
interesting. And then also, we've spoken about how PGD can actually help, the whole sickle cell dynamic. But are there other couples or other people that you would actually recommend, or you have even recommended, to carry out PGD in the course of their
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
fertility treatment?
Yes, there are a lot of reasons why pre-implantation genetic diagnosis (PGD) should be advocated for or encouraged. One, you have people who have frequent miscarriages.
Okay.
Yes, frequent miscarriages, and then the real cause of the miscarriages is not within the domain of the gynecologist,
Mm.
you know, and then she just has miscarriage anytime she's pregnant. The uterus is okay, you know. And usually, when there are miscarriages, one or two things are going on. The eggs may be bad,
Mm.
the sperms may be bad, or the uterus may be bad.
Okay.
Yes, these are common reasons why miscarriages happen.
Happen.
And when you get to the point of eggs being bad or sperms being bad, you're looking to an extent some gene abnormalities.
Yeah.
So if a woman has this kind of miscarriages, it will be good to do pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to find out the reason why the miscarriages are happening.
Mm.
Then, when you find out the reason, you also could use the pre-implantation genetic diagnosis to help her select healthy embryos so she could avoid miscarriages and have some babies to show for.
Yeah.
That's one reason. And this can be with young couples or very old couples. Then, when you have women greater than 40 years going for an IVF, maybe 38 years even and above going in for
Mm.
an IVF, because at that age, the risk of having babies with abnormalities
It's
is a lot,
increased.
is
Yeah.
kind of high.
Yeah.
So you may want to also recommend pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, so you know that they are going to have healthy babies.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one reason why pre-implantation genetic diagnosis could be encouraged. Then you have those who have recurrent IVF failure.
Hmm.
They always do IVF, but they
Mm-hmm.
fail all the time. Why they should fail, obvious reasons
Yeah.
why they could fail.
It's questionable.
There are a lot of genetic diseases that can be transmitted to offsprings. A good number of those diseases are with us, and a lot more of them are with the Caucasians or with the Europeans and all of that.
Yeah.
One of those diseases are, thalassemias.
Mm-hmm.
So thalassemias are blood diseases. They are genetically determined and they are transmitted to kids, to offsprings. So with PGD, you could
Able
understand
to,
that
yeah.
and avoid that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have Marfan syndrome, for instance. Marfan syndromes is kind of abnormality. You have people grow so tall, they have long arms,
Yeah.
long limbs, skinny often. Then with connective tissue disorders.
Disorders.
Connective tissue are the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments, and all of
Mm.
that. Yeah, they have heart problems too. You
Oh.
understand? And life expectancy may be funny,
Mm-hmm.
although they live for significantly long life.
Yeah.
So PGD can be done for such an individual to avoid transfer of
Okay.
such genes to the babies.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have cystic fibrosis. It's common with the Europeans.
Wow.
Cystic fibrosis is like you are doomed already to die
Huh.
when you have it.
Yeah.
You
Oh.
understand? So, and
That's
that is why
intense.
in Europe, for instance,
Mm-hmm.
even among those who are egg donors or sperm donors, you always will screen for
Hmm.
cystic fibrosis
Okay.
because it's difficult to survive it. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible to survive it. So you have Duchenne muscle dystrophy, spine muscle dystrophy. Then you have some translocation, some mutations that just happen on the genes.
Mm.
So PGD will see that, and some syndromes, trisomy 13. I don't know what to use to explain what this is. Trisomy 13, 18, and
Yeah.
some of those things. So you see all of this with PGD, and these are disease conditions that kids don't survive or do well with.
Mm.
So with PGD, you could identify all of these and take them out.
Yeah, I know we've spoken about PGD in previous episodes, maybe not as detailed as this, but it has been mentioned once or twice. And we actually had a comment on one of our social media pages. They asked a very interesting question.
Yeah.
They said, "Do you also select for diabetes, Down syndrome, acromegaly, and hypertensive-free babies?" Now, already there's maybe one or two things that our viewers out there may not really know among these conditions that this person has listed. You've done your research to ask this question. But let's talk about Down syndrome and acromegaly. I know this is something that is not as common as diabetes and hypertensive that this person has mentioned on here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, some of these conditions can be it is not genetic. Now, if a world where so much promise with hypertension.
Hmm.
What rather would be helpful for hypertension would be if another advanced IVF with genetic with gene engineering,
Hmm.
and that is say IVF with CRISPR, for instance.
Okay.
You are aware of the IVF done with CRISPR before, where you have a couple who were both HIV positive, and then were worried about transfer of
Treating to
the
the
HIV to the babies.
hmm.
So they were worried about the baby being infected with HIV,
Hmm.
and of course, uh, trust reproductive medicine. Embryos were generated for them, and CRISPR was used to treat the embryos. And
Hmm.
what the CRISPR did was it altered the CD4 receptor. Now, the CD4 receptor is that receptor that binds to HIV
Okay.
virus.
Okay.
So now, for these kids, the receptor was altered.
Before
The
even
receptors was altered
hmm.
so that HIV virus can't even
Find something to
bind to
bind to,
them.
yeah.
And so if it doesn't bind to them, they can't be infected with
Oh
HIV. So
wow.
they'll be made, the receptors have been altered, the CD4
Hmm.
receptors. Now they are alive, twin babies,
Okay.
and they can't be infected by
That's
HIV.
beautiful.
So now every disease condition actually, to a large extent, is genetically determined.
Hmm.
Hypertension, yes. Diabetes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. The leukemias,
Yeah.
the good number of them are genetically determined. And then with CRISPR treatment on embryos, you could alter the genes of those disease conditions,
Okay.
or make the genes inactive so they don't manifest.
Fantastic.
So if you ask me, yes, this can all be done.
Hmm.
We're already at the realm of this kind of treatment where every disease condition can be altered,
Modified, yeah.
changed, or removed from an individual
Hmm.
using the CRISPR. And that's the realm we're living in right now. And these are all
Interesting.
coming. If we talk
Actually
about not
interesting.
even disease condition, even level of intelligence
Mm.
and some abnormal behaviors
Yeah.
can be eradicated using the CRISPR gene technology, in
Interesting.
addition to IVF. That is
Hmm.
a further advanced IVF than
What we have
pre-implantation
now,
genetic
yeah.
diagnosis. So all of
Okay.
this is actually possible.
Hmm.
They're all possible. And you ask me, I think we're looking forward to a future where a good number of these abnormalities will be taken care of.
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it because I'm sure, before even PGD came to our realm,
Mhm.
which is also in Nigeria. And I hope that actually answers your question, dear viewer out there. So yes, there are out of the four that you had mentioned, two of that's Down syndrome and acromegaly can actually be
Mhm.
diagnosed with PGD. However, we need more advanced reproductive technologies to work with other things, which we don't have yet. I know we've
But it's
spoken about that.
available.
Yes, yes, it's available,
But
but
it's not
it's
yet
not yet
been
mainstream, I would say.
practiced in
Yeah,
the mainstream medicine,
exactly.
in a commercial and recommended a level by
Mm-hmm.
world government.
Yeah.
For instance, if this begins to happen, of course, you have the nice guideline from United
Definitely.
Kingdom,
Mm.
given conditions where this should be practiced. Then
Mm-hmm.
FDA, for instance,
Will
United
come
States,
and
and
yeah.
in Nigeria, maybe Nigeria Medical and Dental Council,
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria Medical Association would also give some permissions.
Yeah.
And yes, before now, the genes of humans, it's deemed to be sacred,
Mm-hmm.
and it's considered unethical to alter the genes of human.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I find a problem with this because the genes, I mean the genome rather, I mean the genome of human, the genome of human is not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So why should you make a law for it not to be altered?
Yeah.
How about alteration for good for
Mm-hmm.
mankind? So we understand a lot about the genes of humans, about the genome of human, and a lot of things represented in the genome of humans are not healthy, are not in the benefit or in the interest of humankind.
Yeah.
And so if you ask me, keep it open and let's change it.
So, but how would you counsel? You just want to change everything.
No, not change
No,
everything,
but
change
I
what
think
needs to be
things that
changed.
yeah, things that actually could be changed and actually
Exactly.
need to be
Uh-huh.
changed in this time. So if you have, let me just say a case study or an example,
Mhm.
you actually get clients that find it, let's say, societally unethical or spiritually, because you know the whole thing of you say you're playing God, oh, you don't want to change anything about the way your fertility or your conception goes. And you do see that it's very, you would highly recommend that this couple actually gets PGD done.
Mhm.
Is there a way that you have tried to counsel your clients a bit better and they actually see more reason in the scientific aspect of it and go ahead with that?
Yeah, it's very easy to do this. First of all, you have to understand the science you're dealing with,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to understand the normalcy in humans. You understand?
Yeah.
So, if you understand all of this, it becomes easy to talk to an individual. For instance, you're counseling a parent or a
Mm-hmm.
couple who has had a sickle cell SS genotype baby. They don't need any counseling anymore. All they needed is a solution.
Yeah.
So if you've seen a baby or an individual who had suffered a genetic condition, I bet you will do everything,
Mm.
even if it is said to be unethical.
Yeah.
You will be willing to do it to make the baby healthy.
Healthy.
For instance, if you've seen a baby with cystic fibrosis,
Mm.
have a breathing problem, reproductive problem, all kinds of genetic abnormalities going on down there, and you want to wait to have another baby
Mm.
with that condition. For me, I think this is a situation where when we consider it immoral, knowing this to avoid the problem, and then you blame, I mean, you excuse it on God, and and excuse it that people are playing God, and because of that you wouldn't
Yeah.
do it, and you allow another baby
Another
to come
life.
into this world
Yeah.
with that problem. I
Yeah.
think it should be considered as an offense of omission,
Mm.
and you should take responsibility for that.
It actually is quite, very. It has a, I would say, a diabolical, view. If
Mhm,
you're aware that there's a way you could make someone else's life healthier and
mhm,
easier, and this
mhm.
life is not just anybody; it's one that you're bringing into the
Exactly.
world. You have the responsibility of making the right choices
Mhm.
for that baby.
For instance, I have come in contact with babies with genetic abnormalities. They've been to the clinics with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions they constantly will ask is, Mommy, why am I like
Like
this?
this. Mm.
At such point, I feel like crying.
It's so
And
heartbreaking.
sometimes I have to excuse myself to take
Mm.
care of my emotions
Yeah.
before coming back to address such situations.
Mm.
I've seen babies with sickle cell, for instance, and I don't want to talk about how the parents get to marry themselves and how to go ahead to have babies. And the baby asks, why are all my siblings okay and I'm like this? What went
This.
wrong?
Yeah.
You see the parent looking guilty,
Mm.
and the baby is going through hell on earth, you know, and you don't want to do anything to address that. I think it's not normal.
Mm-hmm.
It's not normal, and I don't think we should excuse that on science playing God,
Yeah.
and not because of that stay. I mean, with hands tied and
Mm-hmm.
not able to do something to help our babies.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be very okay.
So
That
you
wouldn't
would
be
say
very
it's more
okay.
of a responsibility rather than a luxury, because some people would look at it like, oh, this is such a, high tech thing. It's for people that have the
Yeah.
opportunity to. But if you do have that opportunity, I feel it's more of a responsibility than it is a luxury. It's not something that you just go and buy in a mall or something.
Mhm.
It is a
That's very
life
true.
that is
That's very
involved in
true.
that.
And
Yeah.
that is why people should do good genetic counseling
Mm-hmm.
before getting to have babies,
Yeah.
you know. And if you have a way of knowing what your DNA is all about, you should do it, because there are laboratories across the world today
Mm-hmm.
that can tell you what your genome looks like,
Yeah.
the diseases that is going to befall you in the next 10 years.
Mm.
Yes, like genetic fortune telling.
Do I ever want to do that?
Exactly. So they tell you all of your genetic fortunes and trace back where your origin is
Yeah.
and your ancestral trees and
Wow.
all of that.
That's
So
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 important.
the world is becoming a lot very complicated and very interesting at the
Mm.
same time. And we should take advantage of the advancement of science.
Yeah.
It just to make life better for everybody.
So, why do you say this takes reproductive medicine to in the future? Because now we're talking about our next generation. I've already said we're trying to if you can do
Mhm.
PGD, you're bringing a healthier start to your baby's life. I mean, they're already starting off on a better note than
Mhm.
what chance would have left it up to.
Yeah.
So, but for reproductive medicine on your end as a doctor, what level of changes do you see happening in reproductive medicine?
Oh, well, in the first place, I want to wish that I'll be part of the ethics in the world to determine what the what the future of mankind will
Mm,
be like. I won't say I'm wild, but I'm very exploratory in my mind.
yeah.
But I dare say at this point that we haven't seen reproduction yet.
Hmm.
Reproduction has not yet
Oh,
started
wow.
because we humans are just in our primitive state at this point.
Mm,
Because we mentioned CRISPR in passing,
yeah.
it's going to be part of our reproduction in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we'll be able to determine all kinds of things about humans. Okay. Reproduction and human life is going to genetically be controlled. Already, we are dealing with digital coding,
Mm,
but now we're looking at a generation where people who have understood the genetic coding will interface with digital coding,
wow.
and that's going to be a blast of a world
Yeah, I can
because
imagine.
intelligence at that point is going to be modified,
Mm-hmm.
could be modified. The looks of humans
Could be modified.
could be modified. I can decide I want to have a baby that is a hunk. I mean, muscle everywhere.
Yeah.
Because all we need to do is to just alter the genes that controls the muscle, the myostatin genes,
Wow.
and then the guys start building muscles without necessarily go to gym. You know, beauty has a gene, for
Mm-hmm.
instance. You could alter the gene for beauty. Endurance has a gene.
Everything.
Everything has gene. The way we see
Mm-hmm.
is controlled genetically. So all of these can be modified with the level of intelligence, and at that point, the government of the day would have to come together to decide what is healthy
Yeah.
for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like before the explosion in the world of artificial intelligence came up, there were a lot of meetings in Europe among the G7, G8, G9, or G10 nations to put
To
regulations
regulate it, yes.
how AI is meant to operate,
Mm-hmm.
the limits for AI, the boundaries for
Yeah.
AI, and from time to time, conception.
That's
Either
amazing.
you're conceiving by assisted reproduction technology or
Yeah.
conceiving spontaneously.
Mm.
I don't know, was in China.
Okay.
Putin was there, and Xi Jinping was there.
Mm.
The Modi guy from India and the young guy from North Korea, the president of or prime minister of North
North
Korea.
Korea,
They
yeah.
were talking about living forever.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, they were talking about long living, and hope you know science has already unraveled a lot of scientific researches on how
Yeah.
to make humans live for a very long time,
Wow.
living healthy for a very long time. You see, life
Important.
is interesting and life is sweet if you are at that level,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't want to live the same when you are
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
And so it's just a matter of time. People are going to seek for how to live for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know why it's going to be so? It is because every religion preaches eternity.
Yeah. Sure.
Every religion, even the Buddhists, they believe there's somewhere you will live after you left this world.
Yeah.
Christianity, the same way, in heaven, in paradise. Islam, in Al Jannah. Hindu, somewhere, I'm not sure. So, but then,
Everyone, yeah.
so how about having that actualize
in your own paradise
in
here.
exactly.
Yeah,
You know,
this
that's
is
the
one
way
for
it
you.
is.
Yeah, so this is actually very interesting. I know we've kind of gotten
Deviated, right?
a little bit, but then if anyone knows joining the live session with us where we talk about genes and genetic testing, you know that we're going to talk about CRISPR, even if it's just a little bit, because Dr. Ken loves that topic. And I think you should too. It's a very interesting topic. But today we're talking about PhD. And yes, so just for your final verdict, right? You know, the topic today on our banner says PGD explain protecting the next
Oh
generation.
yeah.
So, what do you think the capacity of PGD is in protecting the next generation actually?
Okay, so just like we mentioned, we've seen
Mhm.
kids who had come to blame their parents
Yeah.
and question their parents as in why they look the way they are, why they're
Mhm.
suffering, why they are going through the pains they are going through. So we need to consciously make efforts
Yeah.
to prevent such kind of birth from happening. And the only way to do that is by working our gene lotteries, avoiding abnormal gene match, eliminating the existing bad genes. And one of the ways is by making the right choices. I mean, even if we're going to conceive spontaneously. Secondly, is by doing a pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, because with IVF with pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, so that we don't allow the bad genes to propagate. We select the healthy genes. That way, we reduce the burden of the abnormal genes getting into the next generation and perpetuating themselves. And don't mind me, I love genes a lot. And we could equally treat humans with selfish, with good selfish genes. There is a character we call selfish
Okay.
in gene engineering, for instance. It's a character that is likely going to always transcend generation. So we look at good character, good genetic characters in
Yeah.
humans, and make them selfish, by treating them genetically, so that they keep occurring in in subsequent
Generation.
generations. So it's a good character to be
To
encouraged.
have,
Why the
yeah.
bad characters? The cystic fibrosis, the Hutchinson's disease, the thalassemia, the Duchenne muscle dystrophies, the achondroplasia, and all of that uh, can be eliminated.
So yeah.
Can be eliminated.
Okay.
So if I were in those conditions and I want to get pregnant, I'll try to get genetic counseling to find a way to do away with that
Yeah.
stuff.
So
Yeah.
basically, something that is important for you feel is important for people who are going on a fertility journey,
Yeah.
you should have that sort of genetic experience
Exactly,
in
genetic
place.
counseling.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's really it's like we've said multiple times, it's a
You,
whole new
you see,
life you're
there's something
bringing.
about parents. Some parents are just traditional. They don't want to own up to the right thing. If
Mm,
you're a parent and you see your baby looking good,
yeah.
well fed, healthy,
Mm-hmm.
handsome, or beautiful, tell me you won't be happy.
Of course, of course.
So what are we talking?
100.
Make conscious effort
Mm-hmm.
to eradicate the abnormal diseases, and genetic counseling. It's just one of the ways to go about, because when you get there,
Mm-hmm.
you will be able to largely make the right
Yeah.
choices with respect to reproduction.
And even if it's all right, at least it's informed.
You've been
You
informed.
knew, yeah, before you
Exactly.
made the choices that you made. Although we do hope and pray that you make the right ones, but you know, has been really interesting, Dr. Ken. Thank you for explaining PGD to us a lot more. If this is your first time hearing about PGD, like I said, I would have loved for you to stick around. And if you did, please tell me that you understood it a lot more. And you can leave us a comment, tell us how you felt about it, questions about CRISPR if you want. I'm sure Dr. K would love to talk about that again, even though we already have, but it's always an interesting topic. Like the topic mentions, PGD today is a very simple tool, or let me not say a very simple tool, but it's a very important tool in protecting your generations to come, right? You're making a good choice, the right choice for the baby or the babies that you're bringing into this life. And who knows, maybe because of this good choice that you're making, they might also want to make that choice when it's their own time to have kids, or it's their own time to go on their fertility journey. But then again, it's all up to you. However, PGD today is a very simple tool, or let me not say a very simple tool, but it's a very important tool in protecting your generations to come, right? You're making a good choice, the right choice for the baby or the babies that you're bringing into this life. And who knows, maybe because of this good choice that you're making, they might also want to make that choice when it's their own time to have kids, or it's their own time to go on their fertility journey. But then again, it's all up to you. However, Our live sessions are always here to educate you, bring awareness to topics that may not be discussed about so often. So I pray that you have more information, more knowledge about this. And if you are indeed going on a fertility journey, you have more informed
Before you
choices.
finish,
Mhm.
sorry, you know, recently in Europe, for instance,
Yeah.
they don't talk about they don't like you talking about sex selection
Hmm.
with PGD.
Okay.
You understand? But the dynamics are changing. The genetic the character in the Y chromosome are cheap enough.
Hmm.
And so we're looking at the future where men are going to be extinct, for
Wow.
instance. Yes. So would you advise them to start allowing gender selection with PGD or not?
Well,
It's a
honestly,
question for you now.
yeah, for me,
Yeah, for you.
I mean, if it's going to, if the Y chromosome is being, phased out, and
Mhm.
it's dangerous to the world, I would say,
Exactly.
because we do need both chromosomes around. We're
Mhm,
not going to
mhm.
have just women. I know I'm a woman, yes, but we do need that sort of balance. So
Uh-huh.
I would say, yes, sex selection should be
Exactly, it should
carried
be
out in
permitted.
PGD.
It should
Yes,
be
it should be.
permitted, you
Yeah.
know. So I think they need to hear these researchers,
Mm-hmm.
those who are politically inclined, who
Yeah.
are the guys that controls the ethics of reproduction,
Mm-hmm.
and because sometimes the government guys can be dumb, you know. Yeah, but the
True.
good thing is that the Western government guys have good scientific advisors, you
Yes.
know, in their cabinet, and so
Mm-hmm.
they can guide rightly. So I think that should actually be
I think so
encouraged.
too. Yeah,
Allow
it should
guys
be.
to do gender selection for
Mhm.
males,
Yeah.
because the gender male is under attack.
I
The
mean,
Y chromosome is
that's
undergoing
true.
attrition
Yeah.
and deletion, and the future doesn't look bright for males.
I've seen some countries where they say, I don't know how true it is, but they'll say, oh, if you go to this particular country, they'll pay you to marry a citizen there because they have too many women, they need more men there. So just funny things like that.
Exactly,
But
these
it's
are
actually a
realities.
reality
Just
in
that
today's world.
the political correctness
Hmm.
doesn't allow you to say some
Yeah,
realities, you know.
that's true.
But that's
That's
the
true.
reality. That's the reality. Even when China started this one child policy, for instance,
Mm.
a lot of ladies, females, were sent on exiles
Yeah. Yeah.
because they have to be alive, but they have to be alive on exiles.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of females, and so now they have a kind of lot of males,
Hmm.
because people have to make one choice, and they decide
To
what they
choose.
want,
Yeah.
the gender they want.
Mm, that's
So
true.
it's just tough.
Yeah.
Crazy word, right?
Yeah, very crazy. So, I mean, there's a lot going on with the whole PGD thing, and it's been an absolutely amazing time here. I'm sure you had a good time as
Here we
well.
do
Yeah.
gender selection with PGD,
Oh,
anyways,
yes,
and
that's
then
interesting.
we've seen males and females. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some coming to do PGD for
Once
females,
meal,
but we
yeah,
have more doing for males.
yeah.
That's the balance of
Okay.
statistics.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, in Nigeria, anyways, a lot of traditions and a lot of places would want you to have a male child, yeah, that male child thing. But apparently, it's important to us now, anyways,
Gender
because
balance. It's called
yeah,
gender balancing.
exactly. So yeah, we've said a lot, and I hope that you can, still go back on this and talk about some other points. I'm going to have to stop Dr. Ken right now. Okay, don't say anything else, please. So yes, thank you for
I
sticking
love
around.
science. That's the last thing I'm saying.
Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for always engaging on our live sessions, our posts, your comments, your questions, everything. We love to answer it and we love to have you here. We're live every Wednesday and Friday by 3 p.m. on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and today we had TikTok joining us. Whoop, whoop. So yes, henceforth you can join us on all these platforms, and we have all our contact details and our addresses on the screen. So if you do want to discuss more about PGD, you can always come in here and talk to our fertility specialist. Have a lovely day. Bye.